Good evening and welcome to the October 2nd Queen Anne's County Public School Board meeting. Can I get a motion to resume open session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Bennett.
Pursuant to the general provisions, Articles 3-305 and 3-104, the Board of Education of Queen Anne's County met in a closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, and any other personal matter that affects one or more specific individuals. To consult with counsel to obtain legal advice, and to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about potential or pending litigation.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to amend the agenda?
Make a motion to amend the agenda to add 6-08 legislation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Okay. Or can I
So
get a
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the closed and open sessions from September the 18th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right. Awards.
Wow.
That's part of the night.
It
Good
is.
job.
Like your girl shirts.
They're really nice. They're really good.
Excuse me.
Good evening.
Either one of them.
The best part of the night, we are going to do our awards. Our first award is the Energizer Bunny Award. This award is presented to our staff member who keeps going and going, and is sponsored by Bayview Financial with Mr. Chip Birmingham and Mr. Wayne Humphreys, if they'll please come forward. The October Energizer Bunny Award has been nominated by Mr. Stephen Rafter, who is the Bayside Elementary School Assistant Principal. If he could please come forward. And actually, I see the principal here too, so if Ms. Welsh would please come up as well. So the October Energizer Bunny Award winner this month is Miss Monica White, the BES music teacher. I'm going to present that to her. Mr. Rafter says Mrs. White is being recognized for her unwavering commitment to the students of Bayside Elementary School. She consistently goes above and beyond for our students to ensure they receive the care and education they each deserve. She continues to identify creative ways to meet the needs of her students by implementing unique strategies that all students can access. Her commitment to the band and chorus here at BES is unrivaled. Additionally, Mrs. White's expertise in scheduling has been essential to the success here at Bayside. Mr. Bell, who's also here, if he'd please come forward, Supervisor of Visual and Performing Arts Instruction, adds, Monica has been exceptional in supporting all music students in learning their instruments and has gone above and beyond by researching adaptive music strategies to help our highest needed students. Her hard work and dedication has greatly enriched our professional development efforts. So thank you, Mrs. White, for your dedication and excellence to our students here. And our next award is our Spirit Award. The Spirit Award is given to an individual who embodies the spirit of Queen Anne's County Public Schools. The October Spirit Award has been nominated by Mr. John Groh, who's our Supervisor of Accountability. If he'd please come forward. And our October Spirit Award winner is Mr. Kevin Michaels, Instructional Technology Coordinator and Webmaster. Mr. Gross says Kevin is an unbelievable team player within the accountability team, where he is always willing and eager to help central office and schools with any specific needs. Kevin is the guru of Schoology that assists teachers with their instruction and grading. Also, his technical abilities and knowledge around data privacy, websites, and data definitely make our team stronger. When in doubt, call Kevin. He's got your back. You're taking all the credit there. Our last award for this evening is the Shining Star Award. This award is presented to an individual in our school system who shines. The October Shining Star has been nominated again by Mr. John Groh, the Supervisor of Accountability, and our October Shining Star is Mr. Chris Brown, Data Specialist and Power School Administrator. Mr. Groh says Chris has been the staple in the accountability department over the years and better known as the Power School guy. Chris has basically been the architect within our Power School system that assists teachers, administrators, supervisors, parents, students, and/or anyone associated with the school system. His skills are accurately organized to keep Queen Anne's County Public School running smoothly and up to date with the State Department. Chris is always willing to help anyone with his knowledge base over the years, no matter what department. If you are looking for something or wondering about something in Power School, call Chris. Queen Anne's County Public School is lucky to have him.
She okay? Yeah, Alexis.
I don't know. She might have run out to speak to someone. Alexis.
What?
Alexis.
I think she made a bathroom or something. So that's what she went. She made it left.
Okay. Okay. Board involvement is next. Who would like to speak?
Well, I had the opportunity this past month to go to a couple athletic games at the schools. Very interesting to see our kids play and have a good time. Also would like to give kudos to our new sidewalk from Central Middle School to the high school. It now allows our kids to access the Y. It looks good. I think it's gonna be a great asset. So thanks a lot for everybody that put in that.
Churchill Elementary, back to school night. Awesome. I started my night in 3rd grade, so it was pretty cool. Got to see some of the teachers that my kid got to work with when she was there. They had a wonderful program, a lot of vendors helping out in the cafeteria. And I understand that we have a new quarterback for Queen Anne's County High football team, and he's awesome, so got to check him out.
All right. All right, anything else? Well, I would like kudos to Mr. Bell. I'm sorry he's already left because I guess we have some amazing, again, dancers who are just taking all of these awards, which is awesome. Also a shout out to our food services, our new food services department. We had spoken about trying to do, not trying, but we were going to bring on board new local farms, and we have done it. We've started with our apples from Blade's Orchard, so please help yourselves to a wonderful apple. I've already had one. It was delicious. And then I also had the pleasure of attending kind of help hosting the Maryland Office of Overdose Response when they were here, and got to see some of our age, the same age people who are our ambassadors. And I really think it resonates with kids when they have people their own age that are helping them to, of course, the first thing is prevention, to try to keep people out of drugs. So a lot of work and a lot of effort. A great escape room, I understand, for the opioid epidemic to help educate people. So that was a fantastic afternoon. Alexis, did you have something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right. Dr. Salins?
Yes, did you, okay, yes. I didn't know, I thought I saw the student board members, I didn't
Oh,
know. Should we do those
oh, you
first?
know, that, I'm sorry, that is first. I apologize. Would Ms. Schrader, would you like
They're
to go
ready
first?
to go, I know they
Sure.
are.
Yeah. October is definitely a busy month for our school, so there's a lot of things going on. I was gonna update, I don't know if you know, we have an advisory period. It's after first period. It's like 30 minutes in a certain classroom. You have a group of people in your grade. And on Mondays and Fridays, we're doing these WIN days where you get to sign up to do clubs, meetings, different activities. There's like a nature walk, watercolors. You can get extra help on your schoolwork. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are designated for academic support. So on Tuesdays, it's first and third period. You can go and get help for those classes. Wednesday is second and fourth period. You can get help with those. And then Thursdays for advisory, there's a normal advisory class. You're with your group and you're scheduling for the following week what you're going to do, like what clubs or meetings you're going to meet with. This week is the week of homecoming. It's on Saturday. So we have our Spirit Week. We've had different Spirit Week themes. We have our homecoming theme is Hoko-ween, so it's like Halloween homecoming. So it's Saturday, October 4th. Our parade is at 11. Our game against Wacomico High School is at 1 p.m. Our theme is Pink Out for breast cancer awareness. And then our dance is from 6 to 8 at our school. October 13th, we have our Interact Club from our school, the student leaders. They're going to the Ravens game for free, and they're gonna like meet the players afterwards. That's cool, that's been set up. And then October 7th through 11th, they're through like our career coach. There's gonna be resume writing, interview questions for seniors. I know there was a trip last year. There's like a leadership trip for the juniors. This is some activity for seniors. October 14th through 17th, we have a LinkedIn social media session, advice from career coaches, networking lessons, volunteers coming in for mock interviews, and then Willow Roots Photography is coming in to take headshots for some seniors, and that was all made possible by the senior English department. And then October 10th, we have Hispanic Heritage Night. A lot of the Spanish teachers from the Spanish department and Spanish club students and just regular students in Spanish class are helping out with that. October 16th, there's PSAT testing for 10th grade students. I promise I'm almost done. There's a lot going on. October 21st, our counseling office is hosting a field trip for interested juniors and seniors going to University of Maryland, College Park. There's a field trip for that. And then October 25th is our first Student of the Month event, and that'll be in the Media Center. They have coffee and donuts for all the attendees. And then November 1st is when our fall play begins. That's
What's the
busy
play
month.
this year? Do you know that?
What was that?
Know what the play is yet this?
I do not.
Okay.
I should know. but-
That's all right, that's all right. I'm sure we'll see it soon enough.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ms. Smith?
We're just as busy at Queen Anne's. So, on September 16th, they sent out homecoming court nomination forms, and today final voting for the homecoming court began. The 23rd started our pet food drive, and that's ending October 9th. And then on September 27th, interim reports were emailed home. And my guidance counselor told me that 15% of seniors have submitted their college applications. Throughout September, after school college help sessions happen with guidance, and they're going to be continued throughout the month of October as needed. So from October 7th, next week, to October 12th is our homecoming Spirit Week. We're good this year. And then on Friday is our pep rally during fourth period. Thursday's the Powder Puff game at 4, and the Hall of Fame inductions at 6. And homecoming's also on Friday from 7 to 9. And then on Saturday, we have our homecoming parade at 10 a.m. starting at Kennard Elementary and ending at the high school. And homecoming football game is at 12 p.m. And then on October 6th, only pre-registered 10th and 11th grade students are taking the PSAT. October 7th is National Honor Society inductions at 5 p.m. And then October 22nd is when we're starting to order our cap and gowns, which is exciting. And then October 24th is Makeup Picture Day for everyone but seniors, because seniors have to schedule appointments directly through Legacy Studios. And then on November 2nd, there's Make a Difference Day at Sothersville Middle School. And our Young Explorers Club are like actively having meetings and planning their trip to Ireland, Scotland, and England for this summer, which is exciting.
It is. All right, thank you. That is a lot of information, a lot of stuff going on. Thank you both. Appreciate that. All right, Dr. Salins.
Yes. So it has been busy as well, getting out to the schools. I think I've really enjoyed some of the games that I've been able to watch, and specifically Monday as they battled out the volleyball team. Both sides were, the ladies were just amazing. They have such skill sets, and I was just so impressed and glad to be a part of it. Stole a little bit of my thunder because I was going to announce that this week is Maryland Homegrown School Lunch Week. And so kudos and shout out to Julie Hickey for reaching out to get that partner, our first really local partner. And I know that that's going to continue to grow, but great program. We've had a good kickoff as we've switched, from working with Seduxo to kind of being out on our own. It's been a nice, smooth transition. So thank you.
Just a side note, if you took a donut, you need to heat it up for 10 seconds before you try to eat it. Just if anybody took a donut, you need to heat it up for 10 seconds before you try to eat it.
Good to know.
They're made to be eaten warm.
Okay, good to know. We're just full of, yes.
Come with instructions.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
It just came with the oral instruction. All right. Okay, next is citizen participation.
So we have a number, but before we start, we ask all speakers to keep in mind the following guidelines. Speakers should sign the roster, including their phone number and address. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes in length. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. Statements to the board should relate to a matter of general policy over which the board has authority. Comments about the actions or statements of individual staff members are not appropriate for public comments and should be referred to the superintendent of schools or the board president. If you have a specific question, the board will make sure an appropriate staff member responds to your question. The board respects your desire and your right to convey your message freely, but asks as a courtesy to this board and our citizens that you show respect for all. First up, Mr. Richard McNeil.
Just to make an announcement, that fan makes it very difficult to hear what's going on up here. Okay, so
Thank you.
unless I was the only one having problems, but you just can't hear back there.
Gotcha.
Just tell me to turn up, I'm next to you, this fan, so I can't really hear out. Tell me to turn up anytime.
Thank you, Mr. Operating Officer, Chief Operating Officer.
Wasn't trying to say anything, but you
No,
can't hear
thank
what's
you,
going
thank
on
you.
back there.
No, that's fine. That's perfect.
Okay. Richard McNeil, and I'm here to represent myself and the retirement group. I will say that Dave Brown, who was here, was our vice president of our group and doing very well. From the retirement group, we are having our fall meeting next Wednesday at Centerville Methodist Church. If anybody would like to attend, just let me know. We'll provide food for you this time anyway. And one of our community service projects, we do one for every meeting. We will be decorating pumpkins that we deliver to people who are ill, nursing homes, that kind of a thing. I just picked up 30, so they're in my garage right now, just sitting there looking like nice orange pumpkins. So we'll be decorating those. I would like to make an announcement. The ALS walk is October the 20th, which is a Sunday. And I know that this goes out to the community also. One of our former teachers at Centerville Elementary School and guidance counselor, Pam Edwards, is being challenged by ALS. And this is the ALS walk out to the 4-H park has been organized by her daughters and other members of our community. And I think it would be really wonderful if we could get several members from the board, from teachers, and from the community to come out this one time. She's the second employee who have come down with ALS, and Mr. Schipple was the first one several years ago. And I did talk with her so I can use her name, so I didn't want to do that. So Pam members, come out and support her on the 20th ALS walk if you can, 10 o'clock. We have a great time out there and celebrating. The last thing I want to say is just a kind of a big thank you to all the teachers and staff for their response so nobody would lose their jobs. And I know it was tough times for you all as far as finances, but to me, they came through in that aspect to do that, at least as far as I know, anyway. And, you know, I've never known a teacher or somebody who works in a school who won't do something to help somebody else. I mean, that's part of our nature on that part. And I just hope that through all of this, that as contracts and negotiations come in the spring, that all of this will be reminded and supportive. I know it's tough times and maybe some hurt feelings have been made, but, you know, we are in this together. So thank you for my time.
Thank you. Coral Adams.
Coral Adams, Sudlersville, Maryland. Coming today as a parent. The board that's seated in front of me has made several decisions over this year that are very concerning to me as a parent with students in the elementary schools. I've sent several emails to all 5 of you with my concerns and questions, and I've received 0 feedback or responses from anyone, which is very, very concerning to me because you're sitting on your dais and you're making decisions that impact my children's education, that impact other people significantly more than they impact you personally. And you can't even be bothered to respond to the emails from the constituents who voted you into these seats. So I sincerely hope that the people that are running in November for these seats, please plan on answering emails. Since some of you won't be here after November, I don't really know how relevant it is to speak to you anymore. But I hope that the people that will respond to parent emails, especially when you're making decisions that are continually deteriorating a school system. I moved back to Queen Anne's County because of the school system. I'm ready to take my kids out of here. This is ridiculous. The lack of assistance, the deterioration of accommodations and remediation for students at the lowest level is absolutely abhorrent. The fact that teachers were given a completely new system to teach with minimal training, no formal training at all on the remediation programs that they're teaching, very little informal training, and yet we are sitting here in 2024 building the plane in the air, much like you asked us to do in 2020. But we don't have a national pandemic going on. We have a budget crisis that was created by the people in this room who are unwilling to take responsibility and very willing to talk about how the state is doing this and not willing to even bother to respond to your constituents. That is abhorrent. Do better.
Amanda and Cassandra.
Amanda and Cassandra, Centerville Elementary. I was here just last month, and when I explained to my daughter why I was here in bite-sized portions, she wanted to come and say something herself. I was hesitant to let her do it, but I believe in the power of allowing a child to voice what they need to, especially when it directly impacts her. I will say, you're correct when you say that there is misunderstanding. There are people who don't understand the problems of the budget or who don't understand how a capital budget should be spent or this or that. But none of that is solved without the back and forth that we cannot do in this room. I came here last month and I asked a bunch of questions And I left you with my contact emails. And much like the woman who spoke before me, radio silence, nothing in response. I am taking time out of my day, and I am taking time away from my children to be here to speak, to advocate for them and their teachers and their support staff. And I expect an answer because I am not from here. I am from New Jersey, so help me. Like, I want an answer when I ask a question. And as a female who worked her way up in a somewhat sexually biased industry by myself with male peers, when I do not find answers to my questions by simply asking them, I find a way to get myself a seat at the table. It is too late for me to run at this point. I think I could do a write-in ballot and that's about it, but it involves a lot of work. But it is not something I am opposed to doing if it means that I get the answers to the questions I want and not blanket statements of pointing fingers at the state with no direct names and at a CFO who used to work here, when in fact, if the CFO missed a page off of the whole budget, it was my presumption, my understanding, maybe my misunderstanding, that the entire board reviews that budget before it's put through. And when I worked in business and finances, I could not ever dream of handing my boss financial documentation with an entire page missing and not find out about it for, what was a year ago? 2 years? That would have got me fired very quickly. I will leave it at that. Cassandra?
I don't want you to get rid of the teachers because they're important for everybody and everybody needs them.
Thank you.
Julia George.
Good morning, Superintendent and board members. I'm speaking today about my feelings regarding a general policy of non-duty days off. I want to explain the history because I've lived it. I've been working here since 1984, and the perspective of myself and many other employees. And I've created a dramatization to try to explain our perspective and our feelings. It's an everyman's tale. This is a morality play, and it tells a story that has an underlying message. This message is about fair play and inequity. The main character of the story is Nurse Everyman, and in this case, that nurse represents all 207-day employees who are affected by this non-duty day policy and the changes in the non-duty day policy and the policy that's been in effect for the last 35 years. The title is Who Owes Who? A Story of 3 Free Days, circa 1989. Employer, Nurse Everyman, we need all 207-day employees, including you, to show up 3 days early at the start of the school year. Nurse, oh, okay, 3 extra days pay, sounds good. No, Nurse Everyman, we are paying the teachers 3 extra days to come back and work early for us on Monday instead of Thursday. But you and your employees on 207-day pay that come in on Thursday, you're gonna come in 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we're not paying you, but we'll give you days off. Oh, okay. 3 extra days. I'll have comp days. I can take them off and do things that I need to do during the year. Oh no, I don't think you understand, Nurse Everyman. You're not gonna pick the days that you take off, your 3 comp days, as you wanna call them. We're gonna tell you when the 3 days are that you get to take off. It'll be at our convenience. Oh my, oh wow. You want me to come in and not get paid for 3 days, and you don't want to give me 3 days of comp time that I can take off when I want to? No, I'd much rather have my original summer break and have my last 3 days to enjoy. Oh, no, 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 no. You don't understand, Nurse Everyman. We're not telling you that you can come in. We're not asking you if you want to come in. We're telling you, you must come in. We've changed the way you're going to work. This is now how you're going to work. You don't get a choice. You're going to come in and work 3 extra days, and then we will tell you when you have days off. It might be at the end of the year. It might be the very last day that you even work that we give you as a day off. Okay. We'll call these the 3 non-duty days forevermore. See you Monday. That's the end of the story. As you can see, back in 1989, there was no precedence or allowance for bargaining on the behalf of Eastern Shore
I'm sorry.
educational
That was
employees.
your time was
Yes,
3 minutes.
I will email you the
Okay.
rest of my statement.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for listening, and I hope that gives you some idea of what we're working with here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Michelle M.
I don't think we heard the name.
Michelle?
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I hope you guys are having a good night. I am Michelle Messier. I'm the school nurse over at Kent Island High School. I am here to talk about the non-duty days as well, and the recent notification that we received that typical past practice, when we came in early, we were given 3 full 7-hour days to compensate for the 3 full 7-hour days that we came in. Notification was that we were not going to be able to receive 3 full 7-hour days, but yet a fragmented piecemeal of hours put together over half days that we already had to come in for was going to be our compensation, or instead of pay for those 3 days. When we come in for work, we are using gas money, we are using our time that we can do other necessary things that we have in our life. We are putting mileage on our cars. And past practice, we had 3 full days. We didn't come in. We didn't use gas. We didn't use time. And we were allotted that. So I find issue with that. I know this year is incredibly difficult because of the time constraints that are put on the calendar, but there's got to be a better way. Additionally, in past practice, these non-duty days are not usually given or told or made aware to us until after the school year begins. It's my request that these non-duty days could be informed to us when the calendar is approved for the upcoming school year, which is in the spring, so that we can plan accordingly what we have to do in our lives. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's the last one.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the HR report as presented?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Bearclove, you are up first and second and third.
Good evening, President Bennett, Vice President Bent, board members, Superintendent Salins, executive team. My name is Darryl Barraclough. I'm the Supervisor of Facilities and Design. Up on the agenda for the first item is the approval of the comprehensive maintenance plan that was presented last month. No changes or revisions or additions were made to that, so we're asking for approval so we can submit that to the state before the deadline.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Next.
Okay, next item up is the presentation of the FY 2026 Capital Improvement Plan. The Capital Improvement Plan is required by COMAR to be prepared each year, presented to the board for approval. The board must approve it, and then the LEA submits it to the state for their review and consideration of state-funded projects. We have two different types of projects that we typically encounter each year. We have state-funded, which are partially state-funded, partially local funded. Those are typically projects greater than $200,000. They are your new schools, replacement schools, renovation, additions, systemic renovations, and those sorts of things. Those are the projects that we are presenting this evening. We also have local or minor projects. Those are 100% locally funded projects. They'll typically involve things like interior adjustments, vestibule reconfigurations, playgrounds, technology upgrades, site paving, those sorts of things. Those costs can vary greatly from $50,000 on upwards to $1 million. Those projects are 100% locally funded, and we will be back before the board sometime later this year to present just the locally funded projects. Those projects, we get a lot of input from teaching staff and administrators and that sort of thing. So we put that together throughout the rest of the school, throughout the rest of this year. As far as cost share, just as it was last year, the state share for state-funded projects remains at a 50-50 split between local participation and state participation. Those figures will be up for review next year, and several things come into play for each county, things like free and reduced lunch percentages, unemployment rates, per capita income, and population growth. For our FY26 projects, we are requesting state funding for 5 projects. The priority 1 project is the Mattapique Elementary School partial roof replacement. This would be the replacement of the asphalt shingled steeper slope roof sections on that school. The roof is in need of repair. It gets a lot of abuse just from its proximity to the Chesapeake Bay with the winds and the salt air. Next on the agenda, or next on the list of state-funded projects, is Kennard Elementary School HVA systemic renovation. This would address portions of the school that were taken care of back in the 2001 renovation. We'd be replacing rooftops, through-wall units, and other units to bring that system up to current code requirements. Third on the list is a project that was sought several years ago, but really didn't have the funding supplied to it, and that was the Bayside Elementary School storefront replacement. Storefront is another fancy name for the aluminum entrances that you see on the front of most of the commercial type entrances. It's the aluminum frame with full glass doors and that sort of thing. That is in need of serious repair and actually replacement at Bayside. Maintenance will go out and do an adjustment to a door that's sagging and dragging on a door frame that's difficult to open and won't close sometimes. And the very next day, that door will be back out of adjustment. Just the hardware is worn out, the aluminum frames are worn out. So this project would replace all of the aluminum windows and the aluminum doors on the exterior of that building and bring it up to current energy standards as well.
Can I ask a question about the aluminum though? I mean, it's such a lightweight. I mean, do we feel that that's the best replacement if it's always, is it out of whack always just because of the hardware, or is it because of what the material is?
It's seen its useful life. It's over 20 years old.
Well, right, so I'm just wondering if we want, just aluminum seems like a weird choice for something that we want to be solid and not moving.
It's actually pretty standard from a commercial application. I mean, it's the same sort of entrances that you're going to see on the front of CVS or going into the grocery store or whatever the case. It is a pretty standard commercial commercial.
Okay.
And the other nice side about it is that it doesn't require a lot of maintenance from an aesthetic standpoint. It doesn't require painting, or it doesn't subject itself too badly to things like salt that gets put down for snow and ice and that sort of thing. So it is a pretty robust
Okay, thank you.
material. Any other questions on that? No, I can just make a comment. I mean, like, when we look at our schools, it's completely different than a house or even a small office building, because it's almost like a Walmart. People are constantly going in and out every day. So I think there's a lot of use, and just as a fact, that's right there for 26. You're talking 6.5, a little under $6.5 million local funding. And we have to remember, depending on the commissioners, that can move sometimes on different things. Correct. But, that's just another number that is going into this system, maintain our buildings, which I think we keep them in great shape. I mean, I really do, but it's a big number. And there's a couple of roof replacements, not like, I guess the roofs will be done the same as we did Ken Island and Queen Anne's in That's what we'd be in looking the for, summertime. is a summertime project for those, yes. And moving on, and back to the Bayside storefront, there are things that would be done to help improve the longevity of that with some different hardware uses. Things like providing continuous gear hinges versus normal standard hinges like you would see on commercial and residential doors. A continuous hinge is gonna wear a lot better. It's gonna sustain 25, 30 years of service life. So those would be the things that we would look to employ for, especially all the exterior doors that see a lot of continuous use throughout the day. Moving on, Kennard Elementary School is the fourth priority. That is a complete roof replacement of the spaces that were done in 2001. That would not include the gymnasium area, or I'm sorry, the cafeteria area that was done recently, as well as the classroom and media center addition that was done towards the back of the school. Those areas would not be re-roofed as part of this scope. And the reason why they would not be included in this is that they would not receive state participation because of how recently they were done, and they did receive state funding previously for those projects. Last on the list is the Kent Island Elementary School fire alarm project. That project is similar to two that,
High school.
it's actually the elementary school. I'm sorry, that was a typo, and I actually corrected it between what I provided you guys earlier and what I'm presenting tonight. That was brought to my attention. So the high school was done about 3 years ago. So this is the elementary school. My apologies for any confusion on that. So that wraps up the FY 2026 funding requests. And if we go to the next slide, it's probably going to be a little difficult to read, but in the CIP booklet that you received, it would be pages 24 through 28. Some of the key projects to point out on that is going to be FY 27. We would be requesting the first year of construction funding for Centerville Middle School. Moving on to 28, that would be the second year of construction funding for Centerville Middle School. And in FY 28, we would be seeking design funding for potentially the CTE, or the Career Technology Education Center. And 29, we would be seeking the first year of construction funding for the CTE building. 30, you would see the second year, and then 31 is made up predominantly of all systemic projects. And we do have systemic projects kind of scattered in throughout some of those other 27 through 31 years as well. Any questions on any of those projects?
The cost share between the state and the county, so for like where you have 2027 and 2028 for Centerville, where it says IAC approval for both, is there a threshold we have to meet to get that approval?
Are you speaking from like a replacement project?
Yeah, so where it says Centerville Middle School renovation or replacement for 27 and then again for 28.
Yes, so they break the funding up in 2 years because the project will extend over multiple years through construction. But as far as what we get funding-wise from the state, these numbers are approximate based upon what current formulas are being driven right now through enrollment and those sorts of things. The state funds based on what enrollments are at that point in time when the funding is approved. Right now, right now enrollment at Centerville Middle with the 5th grade transitioning over from Kennard to Centerville tracks almost to the T of what the existing state rated capacity of that building is. So right now, if you were to take a snapshot right now, the funding looks pretty much like it does right here on this picture. If our enrollment drops or it increases, it's going to fluctuate. It's going to bounce those numbers a little bit.
Okay, so we're on track to get there by those dates, but it may or may not, it may change depending on.
It may or may not change, and it also depends upon the state approving this overall, because they're dealing with all the other counties in the state, and nobody's
You could
getting
request
what
it, but it might not get approved anyway, okay.
And as a matter of fact, we have monthly meetings with other LEAs in the state, and we're hearing that several LEAs were funded for a project the first year, but the state has backed out of funding it the second year. And I've not seen that before. I've never encountered that in a county that I've worked in, but that I don't know how counties are managing that sort of problem.
And that's 50-50 for state and county for the cost share?
It is for us. Other counties are funded differently, and that was back on one of the previous slides, and it depends on a lot of different factors. But the minimum is 50%.
Okay, so all this may change, it's just a draft, it may change if we were not to get approval for this?
It would change if we don't get approval for it, and the numbers are going to change slightly for, as we present each year, the numbers are going to change slightly, and the projects are going to shift differently. If you remember, last year's CIP included programming for high school additions, because that's what we were tracking at over 100% enrollment for the 2 high schools. So we had program costs in later years for doing feasibility studies, design, and additions to the 2 high schools. That programmatically changed when we started looking at a CTE, because the CTE would pull some of that enrollment and give them some flexibility with their spaces that they currently utilize for their CTE programs, like at Queen Anne's County High School.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. When I'm looking at these numbers, I see the CTE building or school in time will cost more than a middle school. Yes. So that's include a lot of the interior stuff and what we're doing with the CTE programs and stuff. I'm thinking I know an office building is different than a school, but the CTE is going to be that much more than a middle school. That's what we're programming it at right now. And again, it's going to be formula driven, and the state's going to pay us or give us what they're going to give us. But that's what I've seen tracking with other CTE. They are more expensive. They cost more from a electrical standpoint, because the electrical systems that for welding programs, for example, for automotive sections, those sorts of programs are much more heavily driven from an infrastructure standpoint, so they are more expensive to construct from the ground up. Any other questions?
For the CTE, is that something with the blueprint that is there like a set number that they have to provide? Or is that still the same way? It's all up in the air for approval?
It's driven again by formulas, and if you look at some of we don't have any this year because we're not asking for any construction funding, but in prior years CIP, there's a multiple page state form that you have to fill out what the enrollments were for the last few years, and then you do the projections, and then it drives the money formula that way.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Got a motion?
That's the slide that I'm on, is questions, so.
All right, motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 CIP request for submission to the state IAC.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay.
All right, last for approvals is the replacement of the 2 to 5 year old playground at Sudlersville Elementary School. We have been in contact with Game Time, care of Cunningham Recreation, to provide a replacement playground for the existing 2 to 5 year old playground at Sudlersville Elementary School. Utilizing the Omnia contract 201-700-1134, Game Time Cunningham Recreation has proposed a replacement cost of $349,998.37. A little bit of background on the project. We've met several times with Cunningham on site, as well as County Parks and Rec representatives to discuss how the scope of the project would go. Parks and Rec has agreed to come out and do the demolition of the existing playground and bring the playground area up to or down to the subgrade that it needs to be and take care of all of the haul off. That basically provides us with a little bit more room in the budget for the equipment and those sorts of things, as opposed to having the contractor do that. A little bit of background on Game Time and Cunningham Recreation. One of the most significant reasons why we're utilizing Game Time for this is that all of the recent, and when I say recent, I'm going back to probably the last 15 years worth of playgrounds has been constructed utilizing Game Time in Cunningham. What that provides for the county Parks and Rec, who maintain and service all of our equipment, that provides them with continuity of the equipment, continuity of any interchangeable parts that may need to happen, as well as dealing with one service vendor if they have an issue with a piece of equipment or need parts or anything like that. And it is a vendor who has been around a very long time, and they're, we're not going to get into an issue with having a playground that's installed and, a company might go out of business or be bought out, and then replacement parts aren't available. Replacement parts are sought every year for different playgrounds, whether it's due to just normal attrition of a playground to everything dealing with even vandalism at some of our schools. So they do require replacement parts annually at schools. Any questions on the quote? What's the life expectancy of a playground, an elementary school playground? About 25 years, 20 to 25 years.
And do they do any kind of like maintenance or checkup on anything, or is that?
As a matter of fact, I just had a meeting with the representative from Game Time up at the playground at Church Hill that they just replaced last year. They were looking at the play surface out there that we have some concerns. I don't want to call them issues, but they're just leaving a little bit of a black surface on kids' clothes and knees and those sorts of things that they're looking at. So from a service and warranty standpoint, they no quarrel at all with them.
I would just always would like to see other, people bidding. I don't know if I've been to a lot of the schools, and I don't know if I've seen the exact same equipment at each school. So it seemed like whatever vendor, you could just get the parts from whatever vendor. But I'm looking at the installation of the above materials, and it's almost $70,000. Do we have a breakdown of how that $70,000 is going to be used? Is that just man hours of just actual manual labor?
That is, yeah, I mean, it's their installation cost. That's what they're paying for the physical labor to do the work. All of the material costs are broken down on the
Right.
three separate pages that are in there from a quote.
So it's $70,000 to install the materials, and then we're paying another 75,000 for installing the flooring.
Correct. Now, on that, regarding, for example, if we were to bid this project out, we would not be guaranteed getting game time for a manufacturer, which means that we're not, again, going back to that continuity of manufacturers. I look at it kind of similar to what we do from a Johnson Controls standpoint when we look at building controls and those sorts of things. When we start introducing these other systems into the school, it just creates a lot of additional effort from maintenance's standpoint in the case of Johnson Controls. In this case, it would be Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec comes out and does annual inspections on these playgrounds. And when items do fall into disrepair, then they're contacting manufacturers. If a manufacturer goes out of business and a piece of playground equipment isn't available any longer, that whole piece of equipment is going to be taken out of service. So, and they are within budget. I mean, they are within the budget that we set on the project.
Any other questions? I get a motion? I'm sorry, did you have something, Alexis?
Oh, no, I just said no. Thank you.
All right, motion that the board approve the contract with Game Time, care of Cunningham Recreation, to provide and install the 2 to 5-year-old playground at Sutlerville Elementary School in the amount of $349,998.37.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next three, I don't know if we want to just get a motion to approve all three. It was a non-public tuition payments. Can we get a motion to approve the three that were presented to us?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, our added piece was the insulin litigation class action. Dr. Salins, did you want to kind of speak about that or not, or did I miss something again?
I thought we added it to 8.07.
Well, we said
I thought it was 6.08 action item.
It's action item.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. So many districts and other organizations who insure employees have started to engage with a new mass lawsuit going after companies for gouging as it relates to insulin. So insulin typically fairly should be about $35 per
Vial. like I
vial.
said, yes.
And they have been charging upwards to almost $1,000 depending on where you are. And so as a school district who insures our employees, we've had to bear those costs that were inflated due to price gouging. So we have asked the board to review that in closed session with attorneys to see what that risk would be. And knowing that there is no risk to the district of any cost whatsoever unless there are funds that are received in a settlement, then obviously there's a MOU where the attorneys would get a portion of those proceeds that come back to the district. But if there's no monies that are recovered, the district is not responsible for any money whatsoever. So it really is just a pure win for us, and I believe it's the right thing to do. It's very similar to the other mass action on social media. It's very similar to that, although the one difference is that you can literally calculate exactly how much it's cost the district, where in social media, it's hard to predict exactly the damages that are there. So I think that's the only real difference. But similarly, there's absolutely no risk to the board, and only if there's monies received through the litigation will that benefit us. So that's my recommendation for the board to discuss and to vote to either join the mass lawsuit action or to not.
Thank you. Did anyone else have any other questions? I know we spoke with the attorneys
We've
earlier, but we wanted to
discussed
vote
it.
on it in public. Okay, get a motion to join the class action lawsuit regarding the insulin. And I think it was also GL1, there were other drugs as well.
There
So I
are,
don't think
yes.
just insulin,
Yes.
but, okay,
Insulin was the main and
Yeah.
the reason that it all started.
yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And also like,
I will move forward with.
when we move forward with that, if Dr. Salins could contact the county, because they are with our insurance company, or with us, advise them of what we're doing and offer them, they can make
Join
the
in.
decision if they like to join or not.
I'd be happy to do that. As a matter of fact, the commissioners have a meeting coming up early next week. So maybe they will take the opportunity to vote themselves and choose
And they
to
can,
join
and
us.
we can give the contact of the law firm we're talking to, or
Sure.
you could just give them a presentation on
Great.
what's happening.
Happy to do that. Great idea.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Evans. So patient back there.
Good evening, President Bennett, Dr. Salins, members of the Board, Executive Committee. For the record, my name is Matt Evans, Supervisor of Student Services. Before you tonight is the second read for Policy 528, Title IX. The updates in this policy reflect the amendments released by the U.S. Department of Education in April of 2024. To date, there are no comments.
All right, any questions? No questions on the second read?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. First, under definitions, subparagraph A. I know when you're there.
Yes, sex discrimination?
Right. So sex-based harassment, it says unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, including unwelcome sex-based conduct. We understand what that is. Then you continue on, comma, sex stereotypes, comma, sexual orientation and gender identity. But it doesn't make sense if you look at that. In other words, there's a verb missing or something. So unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, including unwelcome sex-based conduct. So there's conduct, there's an action verb, right? Or a noun, I guess, conduct. But then it just goes on to sex stereotypes, so I'm not sure what is trying to be said here. In other words, unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, sex stereotypes. There's no sex stereotyping, maybe?
It could be, and I
mean, I
So
think
I-
it needs to be looked at because it doesn't make sense.
Sure, and I did work on this in consultation with Mr. Constance, and I'm happy to,
Yeah, just bring it up because it doesn't,
okay.
it doesn't, the grammar, the syntax, I'm not an English teacher, but there's something wrong there. The other thing is, okay, subparagraph 4, under the same paragraph A, number 4, sexual orientation and gender identity, discrimination against individuals based on their actual or perceived sexual orientation or gender identity. So it's the second time you mentioned gender identity, but there's no definition of gender identity in the policy. So obviously, breaking policies has consequences or can have consequences. And if employees, teachers, students are going to be held to some kind of standard, they need that definition.
So I'll, again, consult with Mr. Constance and come up with a definition for gender identity.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitions out there, and if you take a look at it, you're going to see that gender identity is very subjective, extremely subjective. It's based on the person, their opinion of their sexual orientation or sexual identity, their sex, et cetera, or their gender, of which apparently there can be many in the popular notion of this. And I think we got to be careful because when it says perceived sexual identity of the person, the subject, right, who could be the complainant, it's very vague what that means. And if you look, just yesterday, there was a $575,000 lawsuit from the Virginia Supreme Court, an award to a teacher who was fired for refusing to use a student's gender-specific pronoun. As we know, there's like Z yourself and P yourself, these words that are fabricated on college campuses and that sort of thing. So I just think we got to be really careful, and I'd like to talk to Adam about this to make sure we're going down the right road, because we don't want to set up our teachers for failure, or even worse, get in a lawsuit by a teacher who's been reprimanded for gender identity discrimination because he or she refused to recognize the student's preferred pronoun or what have you. So it's a very sticky situation. Unfortunately, schools are in this situation. In May, there was a $250,000 award from Ohio court. Same thing, female teacher was fired for refusing to use a student's preferred pronoun. So I think it deserves that everybody take a look at this, and I'll reach out to Constance. But in the meantime, if you're going to use gender identity, you need to have a definition in there.
Okay.
All right.
Other questions?
Thank you. Anything else? All right, let's move on to first read of policy 640.
Policy 640, student nutrition, health, and wellness, first read. This was updated based on the review from the state of the policy and our triennial that we submitted. The only update was they wanted to specifically say how the public will access or where the public can get this information. So we, as you see in red, made it clear that it would be made available to the public on our website, QACPS.org.
Where would they find that under? I know that I sometimes, when I'm on the website, have challenges trying to find specific, I mean, I know this is a policy and we have our policy section, but this will not be our policy. You're saying that they need to find information about the triennial assessment data report.
Right. Because it's not in front of me, I want to say operations, but it could be under student support as well. I don't know.
Okay, so they said, they're not saying we don't have to make it easy for them to find it, but we just have to make it to their, okay. I just
Yes,
yeah.
well, and I go to the policy page a lot, so there's, 6 different subheadings.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm going to student support. I don't believe it's there. I think it's under operations.
Okay, but if we were to type in, I know that that's sometimes helpful, if you just type in that triennial
Yes.
data access, that would come up. Is that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other questions about 640? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, school safety update, Mr. Saburi.
Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Bennett and Ms. Bent, board members and executive team members. Wish I could appear with better news, but the Orioles are down 2-1 in the 7th right now. So
Luckily, some of us don't care.
that's disheartening. I'm actually here to talk about a grant that was recently written by the district, and it's actually good news. On July 29th, just a couple months ago, our district applied for a grant funding through the Maryland Center for School Safety SRO Adequate Coverage Grant. This funding allows a local school district to hire an SSE or a school security employee under the grant falls under the 2018 Maryland Safe to Learn Act. And with this grant funding, our district has funding to pursue the hiring of a school safety employee. So school safety employees are individuals who are not SROs, they're not school resource officers. They're employed by the LEA to provide safety and security related services at a public school. They're held to the same standards through a certification program through the Maryland Center for School Safety model training. The MCSS supports the creation of a diverse school safety and security teams that include both SROs and SSEs, school safety employees, as each provide opportunities for strong connections with students, caregivers, and school personnel. As an employee of the LEA, the SSE works closely with school-based leaders on safety and security measures, often outside law enforcement scope. The SSE can be closely involved in student behavior, support, and providing interventions to prevent, mitigate, and restore harm, and something that an SRO can't really do given their law enforcement responsibilities. So provides us with a lot of really great leverage. A little bit about the grant funding. The funding will assist in providing adequate law enforcement coverage for public schools from $10 to $15 million in FY '26 and $20 million in FY '27 and each year thereafter. And as of August the 19th, QACPS was awarded $70,000 to pursue the hiring of the district's first school security employee.
So we got the grant for the 1 year, so would they know that that's it? It could be if we don't get continued grant.
He just said it was $15 million this year guaranteed
Oh,
and
that's for
$20 million
us,
next
okay.
year.
So we
No,
don't have
it's
to
for the
keep-
whole state.
Okay.
But that means it's secure because it's not only is it, they've already put it in the budget, but they're increasing it as well. So next year, likely, we can apply for more money. But it looks like a minimum it's secure for 3 full years following this year.
Correct.
But I would assume because it's school safety that they're not going to try to chop into
Right.
those funds.
I was just
So-
concerned, because I know with our more grant, we have to keep applying to get these grants. and I
Well, we
know
definitely
that's-
have to continue to apply.
But we think that it's
But it's almost like a
solid.
guarantee.
Okay.
Right? that-
It is, yeah. And the governor signed Senate Bill 1077 with amendments that's really going to kind of keep this funding in place. Not only that, historically, that funding was only really slotted for, it was kind of, the local LEA would kind of hold it, and then we would, through an MOU with the sheriff's office or local police department, we would filter money to them to provide their SROs into our schools. This gives us the ability to hire our own school security employees through this grant funding that we can use to supplement the school resource officers that are already in place. So really that's putting additional eyes and ears in our schools, which is a wonderful thing. With the increase in funding, I'm hoping that we can continue to build on this to create a safer environment for our students to learn.
So we have SROs and assigned to every school and everywhere, but if you then would have somebody, you could double up on something if we had something.
Well, and that's the goal, is if we have an issue at a school, or a perceived issue at a school, then we could allocate this one person right now, hopefully more in the future with the grant funding, to be that extra set of eyes and ears. Typically, I'm there as well if we're anticipating something. But we have the flexibility with them being our employee to use them for after-school sporting events, to use them to send them on field trips, to use them for a school that may be anticipating problems, that there's the social media craziness that's going on. So really it gives us a lot of flexibility to kind of point them towards if there's going to be problems after a football game or during a football game. So it's a great resource that the school district's never had before.
So if there's no school, but certain times you have certain areas that you go to a school and there's an issue.
No.
We could send this employee with our teams on an away game or something.
Absolutely.
And it's just.
In fact, part of the 70,000, part of that will go towards, so I set aside an allocation for overtime because I know there's going to be times like tonight where they'll come in and meet all of you. I'm sure they'll volunteer to do that like I do. Or there's other times that we may need to pay them overtime. So that's built in, their training, their clothing or uniforms and equipment, all of that is budgeted in. It's not going to cost anybody any money. It's all grant funded. The grant funding for this school district is based on total number of school buildings. So we do get a decent allocation or stipend from the $15 million in 26, $20 million in 27, and for each year thereafter. We look for that grant funding to increase with these additional awards, and hopefully enough for us to continue to build on this program.
I have to say, I've been very impressed with all the grants we've received, and I assume you find them, and I think we utilize a grant writer through the county to actually write them, but very impressed with what we've been able.
we write them
You
all.
write them?
Yeah,
I've been very impressed with how much we've been able to get done and do and have as a result of that, so thank you for your
We
efforts.
do have a grant manager in the district who oversees all of our grants, and we do kudos to the staff because they're always out there trying to get additional. If there's one to be had, we'll write for it. We might not get it, but we're going to try.
I appreciate those
So the
efforts.
bottom line, this is a state grant. It's definitely good for 3 years, and it's probably going to be a longer.
Correct, yeah.
And we're-
From
and we're
10
gonna-
to 15 million in FY '26 and to 20 million in FY '27, and that 20 million mark for each year thereafter. So it's not going away.
But when you say, that's a state 20 million
That's
grant,
yeah,
70,000 is allocated to us at the present time.
Yes, yes.
So we're gonna basically be able to have probably one officer or SR, whatever you wanna call them.
SSE.
SSE, each year.
And next year, as that 5 million, they're adding $5 million, I don't
can
know
maybe
what
get
that's,
yeah.
it could be enough to be able to do two. We won't know until next year.
Sharpen that
We see
pencil.
Well, and that's certainly a conversation that I would, not to put the cart too far before the horse here. School safety and security is paramount because no one can learn in a building that's not safe. So I would love the opportunity to share some of this information with our commissioners and hopefully that we can continue to build this program up. Right now, it's going to be standing on its own two legs under grant funding, which I think is incredible. It's going to do so for many years to come. But as you know, we want to be sure that our kids are learning and learning safely. So whatever that takes, I'm willing to put the time in to make sure that we get to where we need to be.
I've said it before, I feel very confident that our system and our schools are very safe. I got grandkids here, and you worry about everybody all the time, but I think we do a good job. And I tell you, I give you kudos to teaching our staff, our board, and even everybody that's involved. Eyes talk, communicate, and that makes a big difference.
Calm, stay calm.
Yes.
Those teachings. All right, any other questions?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, go O's.
All right, Mr. Grow. Back row. Even back row. Gotta walk all this way.
All right, good evening, President Bennett, Dr. Salins, members of the board, executive team. For the record, my name is John Grow, Supervisor of Accountability. I am here tonight to present what we've been calling the, let me help you out there, bud. There we go. The State of the Data Review for all of our MCAP data. So I'm going to, that's just what I just said, so I'm going to dive right into our ELA results from 23-24. This slide right here, we start with ELA. This is all students right now. So in blue right there, you'll see Queen Anne's. The proficiency level was 58.5. Going back, looking at all of our MCAPs, our intervals that we're looking at, our scales is from a 650 to an 850, with 750 being that proficient score. So we're looking at, out of 4, we're looking at levels 3 and 4 for being proficient. So 58.5% being proficient this year, with Queen Anne ranking 6th in the state for ELA. Last year we were 5, 6th this year, just by another 1.5%. These next few slides, I know the numbers get a little bit small, but I'll kind of explain what I'm looking at when I do look at these. This one here kind of expands that last slide, where it looks at each level 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the count of students, and then also the percent proficient in each of those levels. So I'm going to kind of use my cursor here. So like in level 4 right here, you'll see like those in 4, we had 8.1% that received a 4. And then once you look under a 3, we had 50.4 to make up our 58.5. So the majority of our proficiencies are in that 3, but then I'm really looking over the state also, where that's kind of a trend of across all of these districts also. So when we talk to our schools, when we talk to our curriculum, our administrative teams, our teachers, we always look between the lines of where they are. We're looking at, you remember last year we started talking about CUSP with all of those students within 10 proficient points or percentages, and I'll get to a slide on that later. but we try to look in between there. We're always trying to move to the next level. So we're looking to move those 3s to 4s, but especially those 2s to 3s for that proficiency level. So that's really where we're paying attention once we actually break down all this data afterwards. This also goes forward with the next 2 slides. It'll break it down from grades 3 to 5 in our elementaries, and then also 6 to 8 for our middle schools. So it's kind of the same thing where we're looking at the overall number and the proficiencies across each of those levels. And that was this 6 to 8. Overall, so taking all of that and throwing it on one big trend data, over the last few years, you can kind of look through the grade levels there of 3, 4, 5, 6 as you're going through there. Grade 10 was something we really looked at this year also, because we did have a 5% dip right there. So we are looking into that, and we're really looking at our what are they called, the evidence statements, where it really looks at what kind of questions, what are the components, what are the categories that we might have, slipped in a little bit, or where our strengths and weaknesses are there, so that we can increase that this year as well. So in text, Queen Anne ranked 6th in the state, 2nd on the shore. Overall, down like just under 2%, and then grades 7 and 8 is where we had the greatest, which was around 5. So we're really looking into those evidence statements to see what really happened there. The other thing that I really like to look at is this, and this is what I kind of got into last year, was these CUSP, which is within the 10 points of proficiency. So we're talking about 750 score being proficient. If we start looking at students that are within that 10 points, that 740 to 750 range, we're missing that by, a single digit, just a few questions here and there. So overall, if we're looking at that, if we include CUSP within 10, we're looking at overall 674 kids, 674 students that were within that 10 points. If you include that across each one of those different sections, that's almost 20% looking through there. So you're looking at 76, almost 80% sometimes when we're looking at that of proficiency level. And we talked about last year also when we did this about, that 750 has kind of stayed still for a while as a scale score for proficiency, while our tests have changed here and there. So kind of that moving target but that target is still. If you've, and when you listen to the news, read articles and everything on MCAP that comes out, our state superintendent right now has made this a priority of hers to really look into this, has multiple teams that are looking into our testing, and so I'm really anxious to see like all the work that they're going to put in. And you can see that I did that for each of the levels for elementary and middle school as well. Again, you can see just in grades 3 to 5, you have 287 students, which pushes you up to almost 75%, and almost 80% in middle school with 323 students that are just right off of there. So when our teachers are looking at that and you have those students that are just missing that, those are those students that we can actually, really pay attention to, put those on our student learning objectives, really try to push them to that next level. But then the same thing of taking that 3 to 4 range, if we're just missing it by a 4, who are those students? And what can we do? And let's really look at theirs and how can we push that? So really being strategic between those lines is where we're really looking at. Before going on to math, any questions on English so far? I'm going to pause right there.
The way that they were doing the evaluation of the MCAP data, is it the same as they were doing last year, or have they changed it again since last year?
Same thing. It's still an adaptive test, so it's still, if you get one wrong, it'll take you back a little bit. If you're getting it right, it'll boost you up. So I know that's been a study going forward also into how effective that's been also. Because if you end up taking that test and say you start off kind of rough and you get the first couple wrong, how far can I really get? Because we can get up to an 850, but if you start missing questions, where does that ceiling go? So I know there's a study going on right now at MSDE, which I'm really looking forward to seeing on that also, because we are pretty new in year 2 of like the adaptive tests.
Okay. And then how do they take into account for where you have the column in here where it says test counted? How do they take into account like the different counties and the amount of students within the district? Do they use an average, or is there something else they use to?
So for that count, I mean, that's that's how many
number?
completed
Okay.
tests that they had for those students, for that test. Yep. Okay. All right, I have basically the same thing for math. So in math, Queen Anne is at 28.7% proficiency, which is 8th in the state, still second on the shore. Again, we have these same kind of charts right here. Again, I really want to look at in between the lines of really looking at the 3s and 4s and where we can move students. Again, that's also for grades 3 to 5 and 6 to 8. One highlight that I was really happy to see was, because it's been a huge focus of ours, was algebra. So we did see a nice increase from 17.7 to 24.5% in algebra. I know it doesn't sound like a lot when you're saying 24.7% as proficient. However, it was a nice boost from 17. I know across the state it's been a huge focus. Especially with our CCR measures, really pushing on algebra to get them college and career ready. So that's been a huge push for us as well. That was nice to see.
I'm looking on 8th. I mean, that to me looks like a problem.
Yeah, so 8th grade, if you go back over the years, it's always been kind of low, like that 13, 14, even 11.
Yeah, but 18, 19, you had 32.
Right. So one thing that I need to look at also is when we go back and look at the numbers, you have to remember our 8th grade numbers takes out those students that are taking Algebra 1 also. So those 8th graders that take Algebra 1, they're calculated into the Algebra 1 category, not the 8th grade, which that does sort of bring it down. But as we increase the amount of students that we keep getting into Algebra 1 also,
Different
kind of
tests
ways
as well.
back and forth. And a completely different test.
It's a different test between 18 and 19, and it is, okay, because I mean, when I see a trend.
Oh, from
when I
18,
see-
19.
When
Oh,
I
the
see
38,
32,
yes,
when I see
that's when
32.6, and
I'm
then I
sorry.
see 11.4, that's a big dip. But like you said, that's always bothered me. I think, Ms. Cape said the same thing. Is it the same test? You know, when you
Yeah,
start
the
changing
18, 19
things,
one's a
and
completely
you're not
different
mixing
test.
apples and oranges.
Right, completely different.
Okay.
So in text again, everything I just said, 8th in the state, 2nd on the shore, increased just over 1%, but algebra took a nice increase. I did the same thing with math for the cusp with 10 proficiency points just to see the same point. And again, we're around that 20% increase when we include those students. So again, it's something that when I get on state calls with the rest of the LACs and accountability people at the state, really throw these numbers out and say, and talk to the other counties as well, and they're seeing much of the same thing. So can we look at some of these cut scores, because look what we're doing here. Our kids, is it really that 750? Because within that range right there, those students are still doing very well. I mean, that's still a 725 to 750. And when looking at those evidence statements, there's a lot of things that we can do in other areas, but they're still doing very well in certain areas. So in our schools, I think we do a really good job of conferencing with our students, one-on-one with our teachers. They do an amazing job with that, especially when they look at this, they look at iReady, when they take those, and they really converse with them and really celebrate even the little bit of growth that we can make. So not just saying like, oh, we're, this is only our proficiency. No, really pushing on those celebrations of increase.
So I'm curious to know if if they're looking at a correlation between the students who are within 10 points and GPAs. Like, how well are they doing in the class, or how,
Right.
what is their GPA? I know they're using GPA for other things, especially as it relates to dual enrollment. with much greater success than any of the entrance exams that we ever used before.
Right, and they
many years ago.
even put GPA into the CCR this year
Yeah,
also,
I'm
so.
curious about how that would correlate, you know, of just that, within 10 points, you know, how does that GPA correlate to that? And are those students having success at a 2.75 or 3.0? You know,
Definitely something I
which
can
to
do.
our standards would say they're being successful.
Sure.
That's what I would wonder.
Definitely something I can look into.
GPA is a little bit higher stakes as well, because the students feel the pressure of what GPA does to them, where
Right.
since this is not tied to a graduation requirement, they don't necessarily have the same motivation all the time.
I mean, in my experience, you know, GPA has been the greatest predictor of a student's success in school and after school. And should be used as such.
Right.
To make a good prediction of how they're demonstrating their knowledge, right?
Sure.
So, I do think that the state superintendent, is absolutely concerned about our assessments to whether they are, aligned to our curriculum, and whether they're actually accurately testing what students need to know. Because you know what, I always see this and I'm like, our kids are so awesome and amazing. And, you know, when you look at the senior classes at graduation and look how many are getting into these very prestigious schools and, you know, everything that they're doing, going into different professions and everything, I don't see the correlation to that success.
Right, and our APs
And
increase
this.
each year.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, the AP, I mean, you know,
Right.
Kent Island High School just got an award today. They were just
Today.
notified of a bronze award for their AP.
Yeah, they look at the seniors and how many seniors are taking the AP exam and how many are passing it and going throughout those scales. And Ken Island did a really, really nice job. Queen Anne actually just missed
Just
it by
missed it.
by a few.
Yeah, Kent Island just missed silver by just
Right.
like one, I
Like
believe.
one-
But,
1%,
I mean, so those
yes.
students are being so successful, you know, and then you look at this and you're like, that doesn't
Correlate.
correlate. And it's
Seems
not
like
just
the
us,
same
it's the
questions
state. It's
over
the
and over
state,
as well.
so it's
Seems like the same
unfortunate.
questions.
Yeah. So, well, we have high hopes that our new state superintendent will move to, you know, look at alignment and such, adjust whatever needs to be adjusted.
That's a great segue to the science one, because that was a huge, there was a lot of time spent on this one because of the 5th grade science test. So when we looked at science 5 and 8, the 5th grade across the state, all counties really dropped. We dropped 16% from a 44% down to a 28%. State 32 down to 24. Something happened there. Something
our
happened
teachers
there. You
didn't
don't.
teach
That just
anything
doesn't
different.
happen just like that.
Yeah.
So there is. I know they are looking into that. We have no answers on that yet, but that was very shocking when we saw that. And then on the opposite side, the 8th grade one had a nice increase. The state actually dropped one, but we had a nice increase where we actually, with a little bit of digging that I did, they didn't have the same kind of slides for this one. I believe that we were first in the state in 8th grade. So we did very well in that, but in 5th grade, I have no idea.
Are they the same test that was given from the 2022? Or did they change the test at all?
Same test.
Same test. And we were teaching the same curriculum, our teachers were teaching the same thing, so.
So we're not really sure what happened there.
One of the tests had, I don't remember, had a missing section this year. I forget which level it was, but they did change it a little bit. Like they pulled like one standard out, which just made the others disproportionately more important. So I can get more data on that.
Was it in the science?
It was in the science. I know. I'm sorry that I don't remember the actual.
That's fine. I can talk to Mr. Page about that as well. Basically what I just said, and even so, even with that drop, we're still like 4% above the state in 5th grade, and then 20% above the state in 8th grade. So looking at the average that way, I mean, we can look at it that way, but we always want to look how we did from year to year. Same thing with the high school. If you remember the high school in biology this year, last year was the first year we put the 20%. This counted as 20% of their grade as well, because we had the that language put in. They did very well. They had a 6% increase in proficiency. The state also went up but we went up 6. And overall, I don't have the slide in there, but overall, that counting as 20%, I know a lot of people were very nervous about that and how that would go. Our kids did very well on that. We thought like we were, afraid that, it would drop or how it would affect their grades. Actually did very well with their grades and really helped them and did a really nice job. So there it is again, a 6% increase there, 9% higher than the state. And then the points actually went up also up to a 749, which is 5 points higher than the state as well.
When you take state numbers, because we're a small school system, 7,000, when you take Prince George's County and some other counties, are you going by number of students when you average?
That's across the entire state. That's that middle.
But are you taking a county average, or do you is it consider how many pupils are in that too when they do it?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, because if you have like 7,000 here and then you go somewhere else that might have 20,000 kids, obviously the average is going to be different there.
I mean, if you're taking Anne Arundel, and I just know population over 500,000 people, and we're only 50,000 in Queen Anne's County.
It's usually on the total amount of students across, because it's usually that large number that they put right there.
They
the
don't
total
weigh it
number.
heavily because they've got more students. They just weigh it by county.
No, it's the
Okay.
total, yes. Good question. Government comes up, that actually moves into this year. This year, government will start counting as 20% of the grade as well. So we're hoping to see the same increases there. We did have a nice increase from 47 to 52% this past year, while the state stayed the same. So we're hoping to see the same kind of results once that starts. Again, 5% up there, 10% higher, and then the score came up to a 745. Social Studies 8, we were dead the same, 49 and 49. So that's something that we want to look into as well, but just absolutely the same as last year. That also is 12% higher than the state as well. So it's a good score. We just want to, keep pushing it up higher. That brings me to the end for any other questions.
I had a question kind of back to what Dr. Salin said. Have we ever looked at, she mentioned the GPAs, have we ever looked at the grade point averages pre-COVID versus now to see like where we are? Is there that big of a difference, or are we
I have
still
not
on?
pulled that, but I can put that on, I can look into that. I did want to add, I'll be coming back later also, because, not tonight, but all of this information is on MD report card right now on the MCAP tab, but the entire site is not updated yet because the school survey and a lot of those other things have to be put in there, like when we get the stars for the schools, all of that. That won't be until usually December, January-ish. So once all that happens, I can definitely come back with a lot of that other data as well and share.
Thank you.
I'd love to listen to data and hear what's going on, as long as it's apples and apples. The problem I always have a problem with is when 2 years ago they did something different, or they didn't do this, or didn't do that, or change. I mean, I believe numbers if they're steady and they're accurate. But when so many things can screw a number up by just using something different, and it just seems like in education, every 2 or 3 years, the wheel's not round. We're going to reinvent it.
I try my best with what I have.
Look, I'm not talking to you.
I know.
It's just frustrating when we sit up here as board members and hear this stuff, and we're trying to get everybody to do it, but sometimes it's just not. You're using something different. One day you have a
Even with all
Chevrolet, next
that,
day
I
you have a race
just
car.
constantly just give kudos to the schools and all the hard
I
work
mean,
they do.
we
with
do a
what
great
they
job.
have.
I do have a question with Worcester. I
they
don't know
keep
how
pushing.
they keep doing a little better than us, but that's.
They have so much staffing.
Do they?
Oh, yeah, every elementary school has 3. It has a gen ed teacher, a special ed teacher, an assistant. I mean, they have a lot.
I mean,
of
I think that's something we need to go to when we talk about budgeting, because when we lose staff, that hurts us. I think one of our strengths are we have staff, and when we start losing staff,
Yeah.
You know, where are we getting our best bang for our buck?
I agree.
You know, put in our people, but do we need 10 or would we be better off having 15? That concerns me sometimes when we make decisions.
Absolutely.
Luckily, we dodged that bullet this year.
Well,
For right now.
for right now.
Yes. I just have a question. I mean, because we do, and I feel like I'm being a downer here, but we're doing so amazing in Maryland, above all the averages. But nationally, Maryland is below the national averages in your 4th and 8th math, 4th and 8th science. So I know that we're doing better than the average in Maryland, but have we compared how Queen Anne's County is doing nationally? Just because we're below average. I think when I looked it up, like 4th grade math in 2022, nationally it was 235, Maryland's 229. There's only 7 states lower than us, although we're quite, there's lots that are equal to us. Do we look at, we're doing great for Maryland, but should we be looking to maybe do better than
I
Maryland?
mean, I'm usually just focused on what we're doing within our county and our state. I can look nationally, but I know like that's what our state superintendent's really looking at too, just to
There's only one
completely-
test that's national test, and that's called
Right.
NAEP. And that's only done at 4th grade, like, I
And
don't want to
11th,
quote
yes.
myself, I don't want to get myself in trouble and miss.
Is that where the national grades, that's
Yes.
the school
So
comes
that's the
from? Okay.
only, the only national data
Right.
that we could access and look
Yeah.
at.
And I think part of the issue with that is Maryland doesn't necessarily teach standards to that test where some states do.
Well, I was wondering about
which
that when I
affects
looked
our
at
scores.
the nation's report card and saw that I didn't know how they do the comparison. They must have some kind of way though if they're doing the NAEP, yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Are you teaching to that test or are we teaching to the Maryland?
We're teaching the
quote
Maryland
unquote now
standards.
blueprint,
because we
you know
have
what I
to.
mean?
Yeah.
So, we're teaching to what we're not forced to do, but mandated to do. Where, if you give me a test and, okay, I want to go to this and all of a sudden we fall off Maryland, but we want to get it, might come up in the thing. So, like I said, there's no 55
You
mile
want
an hour
apples
road
and-
all
that's
the way.
right, that's
Everybody
right.
changes the speed limit.
And I think the current MCAP contract is only for another year or two. So
It's up now.
is it this year or next?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so we could be in for another
Going
change.
out, I think it's going out for our,
Oh, wait.
The testing, they're
We
changing
have
the
one
test
one
again.
school this
Potentially,
year.
and that's what we're fighting.
they're going to change it again.
Yeah.
It's definitely changing.
So then once
We're gonna
once
have a
you
whole
that,
new
then
vendor.
all your old
Data is
data's
So you
gone.
can't really follow, you can't even like look longitudinally like
Right.
students in our
Yeah.
system to watch how they're doing because
Must be keeping somebody in a job.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I have so much faith in our iReady data, and I feel like that is so much more valuable for our staff to use to be able to not only identify where students have needs for areas of growth, but also to identify their strengths. And I just think that that's like, it's real time.
Just saying, it gives them live data throughout the year and it's right there in their classrooms that they can share with their students.
Well, I have to say on graduation day, when they're all standing up, saying where they're going, what they've achieved, it is impressive.
very
It is impressive, yeah. All right, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Grove.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Berklow, back up here.
Should put him back to back. Sorry.
Yeah, we should have an 801. We didn't create the schedule, okay, we're gonna.
All right. Good evening again. All right. All right, so I'm coming before you this evening to provide an information update on FY25 capital projects. These are projects that the board approved last year through various approvals. And I just wanted to provide an update on the many different projects that we were able to complete and many others that are still in the pipeline. First on the list here is the Bayside Elementary School Security Vestibule. This project basically provided a secure entrance where visitors, when they buzz in at the exterior door, they no longer have free access to the rest of the school. They have to enter directly into an office area. You'll see the office area in the photograph on the lower right. or I'm sorry, lower left, and then on the upper right, you'll see the new door that was cut into the vestibule. The doors that enter from the vestibule into the school, those are locked during school hours, so nobody can enter into the school. And feel free to ask any questions during the presentation. So next is the secure vestibule at Kent Island High School. Similar to Bayside, this is a vestibule opening that was created so an individual can now set out in the vestibule area and be a direct one-on-one contact to any person buzzing in at the exterior, and they are vetted a second time face-to-face, and then they can check in and then be buzzed into the school to either access the main office or go to a volunteer space or wherever they may be going. Next up, we have the vinyl floor tile replacement at Mattapique Elementary School. This project was completed over the summertime, and basically took all of the vinyl floor tile that was in many of the instructional areas and through the instructional corridors. The main corridor of the school is terrazzo, so that was not replaced or touched. That's a product that stands the test of time and lasts for a lot longer than the vinyl composition floor tile. Next, we have Mattapique Middle School interior painting. This project, the school probably looks the same as it did last year because we maintained a lot of the exact same color scheme throughout the school. The school wasn't dated at all, so we maintained the same color scheme. The only exception to colors is what you see in the upper right there. That is the service corridor that runs between the admin suite and the backside of the cafeteria, the kitchen. And what we did there was we painted about a 48-inch wainscot in there with the darker tan color to help hide scuffs and just help preserve the finishes there a little bit. Next, this project is about 99% complete. This is the Queen Anne's County High School roof replacement. Project has been going very well. One of the questions that we've gotten asked a few times is the color of the wall panels for the auditorium area there. And as you can see on the auditorium, they're like a cream color, and then that's offset with the new green coping that runs around the perimeter of the roof. So it's a very nice color combination, complements the school colors as well. Those wall panels will also go on the section of the wall that you see in the picture on the screen. It was approved last month at the last board meeting, the change order for the additional wall panels. They'll go on that section of brick that you see. That's for the gymnasium space. And this is a thermal image of the roof while it was under construction. We now have a drone that we can fly to do thermal imaging, which will help us detect roof leaks and similar things to help with maintenance as well as roof replacements in the future.
Because I'm a little familiar with that school. That round thing, I can't figure out where I'm looking at it. Which one? What am I looking at?
First walk in the door?
The lobby.
The lobby, when you first walk in?
That's the section there. You see the white.
Look behind you.
I'm going to try to.
Oh no, that's that picture. Next picture.
Right.
Yeah, the next picture is the same. It's just a different angle, and it's a little closer.
Gotcha.
Okay, moving on. Queen Anne's County High School, we did a stadium light replacement. This was a very interesting project. It basically took the existing high-pressure sodium lights that were there that take about 15 minutes to warm up and heat up. So if something happens during a game and the lights go out, we have to postpone the game until the lights can come up to full lighting. These lights were replaced utilizing existing, they're called standards, but the existing poles that were there, only one of the poles needed to be replaced. And the contractor performing the work out there, they actually came on site and they requested to provide a drone that they were going to fly on their own because they wanted to use this as a marketing tool for their own marketing. And so they actually provided us with a copy of the video. I'm hoping that it plays. Here we go. So is it going to play? Is it going to play? It is not going to play.
I can help if you need it. I know where to get it.
Yeah, it's going to be down here in the agenda, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a separate, you had a link to it.
Want that link over there?
Why isn't it coming up?
Oh, you want me?
Yeah, I do want you to help.
Any kickbacks on their marketing?
It is amazing though.
Same thing.
Just on the agenda,
Two
on that
windows.
here, yes.
You got the display duplicated again because you opened your PowerPoint. If you close it,
and
then there's your agenda. Go down again.
Yeah, but shouldn't it play from here?
Just do it here. And then
Sorry.
Go to my board
You're good.
agenda.
Yeah.
And
There.
then when you click here and then your link, I got you.
There we
There
go.
we go.
Sorry.
That's all right.
That's why you do construction.
Operator area. Operator area. There we go. You don't need the music.
Yeah, we do.
we like
Oh,
it.
yeah, we
Okay,
do.
we do.
Good gracious. Just turn it down a little bit. All right, that was, yeah, it was impressive.
All right, let's see if I can get back to where I was now.
Yeah, I heard there was quite some comments at the football game the other night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it really does, like, they have, they
that's
can make
cool.
it flash
Lights.
like that. Yeah,
Went
with
from-
music, it will go to the beat of the music.
The previous lights were 30-foot candles, now there's 40-foot candles out there. And the other area that we really improved upon was you would get the students and gathering around the concession stand and kind of the field house wasn't very well lit, and now it's light up.
Yeah, we did provide decent foot candles out at those outside public areas. Some of the other nice things about gameplay is that the lights feature something called ball tracking, and it never even dawned on me, but apparently when a kick or a punt is done during a night game, if that ball goes above the lights of the stadium, it's in pitch dark sky. So the person on the other end trying to receive the ball loses that visual contact with the ball until it drops back down below the light standards and then gets picked up in the light again. So then they're tracking it. So one of the things that the new lights have, they have something called ball tracking, and they're basically two lights on each light standard that shine upward that allow that ball to be tracked when it's up above the other lights that shine down on the field.
And I've already received a question, well, Queen Anne's County High School got this.
When are we doing it for
Ken Island is on the agenda for FY26. So,
I just wanted to get that out there. Thank you very much.
They're on the list.
When we come before you for the locally funded projects, Ken Island High School will be on that for stadium light replacements, and the plan is to provide them with the exact same system. So there's no difference between the schools.
Very good, thank you.
Moving on, I think it was mentioned earlier in the board meeting, the sidewalk that leads from Centerville Middle School to Queen Anne's County High School to help get our students over to the YMCA. The concrete work is done. The ADA truncated domes are installed. We do have some signage yet that we need to install to identify the crosswalks, as well as some crosswalk striping that's going to be done. We've already let the contract for that installation to occur, and we're just waiting on the weather to cooperate a little bit better to get some of those materials down on the asphalt.
You know it's already being used though, right? Yes.
Okay.
I've seen
When-
students on it several times.
When they cross from the high school to the Y, I know it's a state road, 304. Not
Oh, yeah,
304 state. Have we made sure we have proper sign? I mean, just lights are flat, I know Washington College have a light to go across at a certain place, but I know we probably never get a light, but do we have something there to?
Our recommendation to the school is to go up to the next crosswalk, so it's not as wide for the middle school students. So go up basically to right where the Acme entrance is, so it's a more narrow crosswalk. And we have contacted the state about putting in lights there, but you know how that process works.
I just know some student from Central Middle School, once they get to the high school, we're gonna go across rather than, we've contacted the state anyway.
Yes.
It looks good. I think it's a
really
great
does.
project. I think
Very
it
nice.
really
It does.
puts it together.
Very well thought out too, with
Yes.
knowing how many cars that are parked there.
Well,
During
and
baseball
it's
season.
up against the fence
Yeah.
at the ball game, and it amazed me how. I guess it's not hard to put a sidewalk in, but they did it pretty quickly.
About a week.
Yeah.
They move very quickly. Okay, next project is the surveillance camera conversion. As we presented earlier this past year, we awarded a contract to convert from our old camera system that had reached its end of life to a new surveillance camera system. That system is 100% operational, and we've been in the process of bringing school administrators up on training for utilizing the new system. Additional projects, capital projects that we've completed. Centerville Elementary School, we've installed shades. Centerville Elementary, we've also completed the cell phone booster project. Churchill, install the whiteboards, install shades, install clear touch, and install cell phone boosters. Kennard, we've completed the installation of whiteboards. Ken Island High School, Phase 2 underground stormwater repairs. Also installed whiteboards. 10 classrooms have been painted. Mattapique Elementary School, we've installed window shades. Middle School has received a new telephone system that was completed through the Aging School projects through the state with state funding. Mattapique Middle, Epson Bright Link projectors. And then Sudlersville Elementary is the last cell phone booster project that was completed. We do have 2 more that will be on the next slide as pending. They'll be starting them later this month.
When we do a cell phone booster, that's for all, is there like different ones like AT&T and Verizon, or is it just all one booster?
It is the 3 providers. So what they do is they come into the school, they install electronics within the school, and then there are antennas that are connected via a large coaxial cable, and they connect all of the antennas throughout the interior of the school through the corridors. And then they take the electronics and extend it up onto the roof, and then there's 3 separate antennas that are aimed to help with the 3 separate carriers, and it's Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint.
And they can pick up a tower. There's some tower close enough to look at.
What they do is they try to amplify the existing signal that's in the area. The issues are going to be if the signal is weak in that area, it's not going to boost the signal beyond what you have outdoors. The other things are inherent with any electronics. So if you're in an area and sunspots are giving you problems with reception and that sort of thing, those same problems are going to exist with these types of systems. It's not a workaround for those kind of issues. The other thing is that if anybody's familiar with utilizing Wi-Fi versus using your cellular data for calling, some people enable Wi-Fi calling, and what they do is they pretty much piggyback on the Wi-Fi system to make calls. That will help save minutes and those sorts of things, but that will also not see any benefit from the cell phone booster, because again, you're not using the cellular signal, you're going onto a completely different network.
But like our staff and security people, we have two, we got the cell plus we got the Wi-Fi that they can hook up either way.
Correct, and I have instructed the schools that were done last year, the 5 schools that were done last year, we did have a little bit of an instructional period where I had to go over some of those things where folks just weren't really aware of, you've got to turn Wi-Fi calling off to see the benefits of this. So,
Is Talkie and Chop Tank, since they're running cable out there, have they come up past the school yet?
I'm sorry, Sid?
For Chop Tank, for the Wi-Fi, when you're talking about the Wi-Fi, and then Talkie, since they got all the grants out there, because I know they've run, I live out that way, and one side of the road is Chop Tank and the other one is Talkie, and I know they're headed out that way. Would that, if they did come by, would that be something the school could utilize to get better internet?
It would, and that would be totally different from cell phone boosters. We're talking about fiber, but
we have fiber already to Summersville
Who do you guys?
Middle School. It's through the state.
Through the state out there? Okay.
And kind of piggybacking on that, we've already been in communication with Talkie for fiber for the new central office, because right now they are out at, they're out at 50 right now, and they're looking to extend it in towards the high school, and they're looking at having that done and to the edge of our site and ready for us to hook up for any of the paid internet that we would need to provide for the central office.
And that's a state fiber optic.
That's Talkie's fiber.
Oh, Talkie's. Because the state comes up through Centerville, through Chestertown.
Correct. But Talkie is coming up there as well to give us redundancy in fiber for the central office. So capital projects that are in progress. We have Bayside and Graysonville. We have school-based health centers that are in design. That's in the very infant stages of design. Kennard, we have the contract award of the fire alarm replacement that just received state approval. Also, down a couple below that, we have, is it up there? Well, we also had the Queen Anne's County, oh, there it is, Queen Anne's County fire alarm. That project also went in parallel with the Kennard fire alarm project. So both of those projects did receive state approval. So we have awarded the contracts to those vendors. Moving on, Kent Island High School, we have the contract awarded for the makeup air unit replacements. We have scoreboard replacements at Kent Island High School gym and Queen Anne's County High School gym, as well as the stadium at Queen Anne's County High School. We have the contract award for additional security cameras at Mattapique Elementary School. Mattapique, I have a typo there, that should be middle school. Cell phone booster install, that project will be starting in October, later this month. Let's see, what else do we have? As presented tonight, we have the award of the 2 to 5 year old playground replacement at Sudlersville Elementary School. And then at Stevensville Middle School, we have the contract award for the heat pump replacement, as well as the additional security cameras. And then rounding things up, we have Sudlersville Middle School with the last install for cell phone boosters for this year. And last but not least, the new central office building. That project is coming along nicely. If anybody's driven by, the picture that's in the photograph there is about a week or two old. They've been continually working on bringing the light gauge metal framing around the perimeter of the building, so they'll be bringing roof materials on site. They arrived this week, so we should start seeing some roof activities, get the building dried in, and hopefully see some interior activity very, very soon.
How's the work going without the architect on hand? I know that was.
For the last 4 months, that is the present plan.
He's on hand.
He's on hand now. He
He's
just won't be on hand for the last.
When are we anticipating the finish?
It would be next summer, summer of 2025.
Any questions or comments?
I think we do a good job with our maintenance. I mean, I think we keep our buildings up. It's something a lot of people don't see and notice. We go through these budgets for operating, but I mean, our capital, we stay up on. And, I think our schools, when you go to look at other schools, I think ours are second to none. I mean, we keep them up.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Berkowitz.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. Last but certainly not least, talking about next year, having a discussion about the budget, starting early.
Yeah. So I wanted to let the board know that this will be a standing budget item, a standing agenda item for the board to talk about that. Of course, as you know, we'll be starting our budget process in November. So I kind of wanted to get the placeholder in there and to give you an update on the performance audit, actually. So as you know, our commissioners have hired a firm to be able to perform a performance audit for us. We actually were notified on Sunday morning that we would be kicking that off on October 1st. So the county actually met with the new firm on October 1st, and we have an engagement meeting with them this Friday. So our team will be meeting with their team as well as with the company to talk about the audit and what what's the timeline, what we need to provide for them. I have forwarded to the board the engagement letter so you can see the scope of work. And so our CFO and the staff in the area of finance will provide all and any information that's requested. Some of that may come as it relates to transportation was in there, as you well know. There was some information as it relates to our benefits package and things that we offer for our employees. So Dr. Knoll and Mr. Pinder will be participating. And of course, our assistant superintendent will be there along the way. So we will keep you posted on that. I didn't know if anybody had any questions.
But that I don't, but what I would like to see, a lot of stuff we know about next year's budget today. We know we're 4 days in the hole with furlough days.
Correct.
We know what our contract commitment is for next year.
Correct.
We will know in October the 15th, roughly what the anticipated retirement of the people that want to stay whole for this year. We understand, fuel, electricity, we can put in something that's a reasonable thing. It could change, but I'd really like to start seeing November and December, get some numbers together, and they can change. I know they will, and but we just need to start really seeing what we have, because to me, it's not rocket science, and we just know what we're going to have to do, and there's no use to sit there and think this is going to happen or that's going to happen. I think we need to look at some hard numbers as early as we can, put dates on them, and they could adjust. But some of the stuff I think should be pretty close to what we're going to need.
Yeah, and we do know, at this point, we're past the September 30th count, so while we don't have it finalized, we know that we're basically flat right now.
Well, if we're flat, then we'd have to look at maintenance of effort.
We need to look at that. We did do a projection out with an increase on all of our cost of doing business. We knew, obviously, like you said, contractually, what our responsibility is there for salary enhancements. We also included 7.5% increase on insurance, which is what the county was projecting as well. So we do have those numbers now. We'll see. We did that this summer, so we'll see how that compares as we start to get some real numbers.
But if we have 7.5 in there, and it
Yeah,
ends up,
7.5,
if
that's
it's $1
exactly
million
right.
or $1.2 million, and it goes up a little bit or down, that can be adjusted. We also want to, I mean, it's something, we have dual enrollment. We've seen that go up drastically, which is state.
National board certification is
National board
huge.
certification. So, if we have 30 people in the pipeline and it's going to cost us $10,000 a person, then we know that's another $300,000 price tag. If we have dual enrollment and we have, 200,000 and we've already spent 250 this year, we need, we need to at least earmark it and then we make decisions.
Yes.
Because personally, I think it's not a good idea to get, I mean, I know you have some nutrition, but it's not good, get a mass X of people. It's not going to help us.
And we were notified last week through ESMEC Trust that our energies through electric are going up significantly. So, Mr.
About
Pinder.
22%.
Well, that's because, of course, supply is almost as much as electricity anymore, but I know mine was 9 cents and now it's up to 12 an hour.
So that's,
for
they
residential.
gave us the 3-year projection, which is the same about
Yes.
the same each year.
So, yes, it'll be about 21% next year, and the following year it'll be about 22% on top of that.
So, that's another thing that we
I mean,
have
because,
to.
it's, whatever you do is good, but we go all these green schools and all this, that ain't covering anything. You know what I mean? It's just putting your finger in the dike and more water's coming over the top.
Right, and the additional pre-K classrooms that we put in this year to make sure that everybody was full day. Those teachers come onto our roster next year. They're paid for state funding this year as we expand pre-K.
And if we do all that, that can be done on a sheet.
And the IAs.
And that can be
with
done
them
by,
will come and-
November, December, before we go on holidays, and then get in the budget season in January. At least we know where we are, and because it's so screwed up, the way we do things. Not us, but the way
Right,
the
with
state
the
has
state.
things
It's
set
so
up.
out of
That
line.
we have contracts, we negotiate this, we do that, we don't know what our funding is.
Correct.
There's more mandates, there's this and that, and then all of a sudden, June, everybody gets mad at everybody. Which I don't blame everybody to be mad, because, we need to make things work, but, some of this stuff's being thrown on us that, okay, here's coming, and then we have to make some hard decisions.
Right, well, as I said, we predicted out an overall ask of 7.5%. So as we gather additional data pieces as we're moving through.
But you say
let's see.
7.5%, what I want to see
I mean,
is
7.5
million.
million, sorry.
What I want to see, million, and is that a real figure with all this other stuff we got with
Right.
dual enrollment and this?
So that's what I
state?
mean, that's where we're starting. So are we just under or just over, because we're not gonna be.
And that's adding
under,
the 4
that's for
furlough
sure.
days in?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And then we know if we need 7.5 million, then, and the state's gonna give us 800,000.
Right,
Exactly. We know the county's gonna be up.
$200,000 or 300,000
To one school,
Yeah.
exactly, that's your.
Because,
exactly.
the county doesn't strike our budget, or their budget to us until June.
June.
Well, there's decisions we gotta make before then.
Yes.
And
We'll be making decisions early spring.
we might have option A, B, and C.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
at least know about them. And, we all gotta get this together. I mean, we're all in here for the students, but, everybody's got their own little wish list too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's budget, challenging times for sure.
It's gonna be, it always has been. I mean, it's getting worse, but it's never gonna be, there's never gonna be enough money. Everybody's gonna want something.
All right, anything else about budget? Okay. It is public comment. Do we have anyone signed up? There wasn't anyone out
Anybody
there?
wanna ask anybody going to?
Did anyone want to speak? Okay. Future meetings, our next regular meeting will be the 6th of November. Can I get a meeting to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? All right, thank you very much.